Bonjour. Welcome to this evening's session of French A level. This is the second session, and tonight we will be looking at writing an essay. My name is Madam Griffiths. I will be facilitating the session this evening, and Madam Lloyd will be presenting. If you do have any questions during the presentation, during the next 40 minutes, please put your questions in the Q&A, and we will also answer your questions there. At certain points during the period, we will be asking you to put some certain information within the Q&A. The first question is already there for you. We'd like you to note, please, which book you're reading this year. Merci.
Bonjour, je m'appelle Madame Lloyd et aujourd'hui pour la seconde session, nous allons parler de la dissertation. So first of all, what are the aim of the session? So our aims tonight are understanding what the question requires, what analyzing means, and organizing a structured essay. So first of all, the question, so la question. So on the right, you can see a different question from a WGEC. It's taken from a past paper. And I put all the novels as we don't really know what books you're studying this year. And if you look at all those questions from those 4 novels, you can see that there are 3 types of questions. Some are about a theme, some are about characters, and one is about a place. So what I would like you to do, I give you a minute for that. For your novel, please, could you check what questions speak about the theme, which one is about the character, and which one is about the place if your novel is at one. Thank you. If you could write your answer in the Q&A. So, okay, so if I start with the first novel, Le Bal, the question A was about a theme called La Société Parisienne. Now, in Faizagen, Kif Kif Demain, the theme was l'immigration maghrébine. Dans Un secret de Philippe Grimbert, it was less obvious. It was the idea of a brother in the novel, okay? And dans Elsa Triolet, Les Amants d'Avignon, it was about la résistance. So you'll see that from time to time, theme is obvious, like Société Parisienne, immigration, résistance. Other times, it's more an idea, like Idée d'un frère. The other type of question was about characters. So dans Le Bal, it was quite easy. Mademoiselle Isabelle was the character you'll have to talk about. Dans Kif Kif Demain, it was les personnages masculins dans la vie de Doria. So it's more than one character, it's a group, and the impact of that group on the main character. Dans Un secret, again, more than one character, it was l'impact de Tania sur la vie familiale de Maxime et Anna. So you'll have to know 3 characters for that essay. And dans Les Amants d'Avignon, it was about a place, la ville de Lyon. So the other thing about the essay this year, which is different from last year you had to describe. This year you'll have to analyze. So analyzing is a bit more than describing, and we'll see what it means later on. So la question now, I would like to discuss what you should not do when you have a question. So I took 2 examples, Kif Kif Demain et Les Amants d'Avignon. It works for any book. So what you should not do is to give a summary of your knowledge on themes 3 and 4. And those 2 questions, for example, l'immigration maghrébine, and la résistance are both, the first one is theme 3, second one is theme 4. And sometimes, because your knowledge on those subjects are good, you want to write it. No, what you have to do is write about it in the novel. So don't forget, it's always l'immigration maghrébine dans le roman ou la résistance in the novel, dans le roman aussi, even if it's not written. So don't forget that it's only what you learned about those topics inside your book, not what you learned about those topics in your other lessons. And the other things you should not do when you choose a question, when you're answering a question, is showing all that you know about a character or characters if it's not asked. For example, dans Kif Kif Demain, you have to study the impact of the masculine characters on Doria. We don't need to know all the life of the masculine character, only the impact on her life. And it's not all the aspect of the life of Doria you need to discuss. It's only the one linked with the masculine characters. The same way, dans Un secret de Kif Kif Demain, when you have to analyze the impact of Tanya on the family life of Maxime and Anna, you don't need to discuss the whole life of Tanya. It's only the impact she has in the married life, in fact, of Maxime and Hannah. So you don't need to discuss, for example, the death of Hannah as itself. You don't need to describe it all. It's just the impact of Tanya. Is that linked with Tanya is what you have to think about it. And don't study the other way around, like the impact of Hannah on Tanya and Maxime life. You have to really keep focus on the question all the time. So now, once you have chosen your question, you have to stick to it. You have plenty of time to write an essay, especially if you're writing it at home, but you cannot change question. So if you choose one, carry on with it and forget about the other one. Now, analyser, what does that mean? So I give you 1 minute to think about what it means for you, analyzing, and write it down in the Q&A, and Madame Griffiths will answer you if you write something. So I leave you 1 minute for that. So analyser. So it is more than just describing what happened. Last year, you had to describe. It was what was required from you. This year, you have to go further than that. You have to comment, you have to explain. So in other words, it's not just what analyzing is also why. And we'll have a look at an example from Un secret, excusez-moi, Kif Kif Demain. So, analyser l'importance des personnages masculins dans la vie de Doria. It was one of the questions we've seen before. So if you've got that, what you have to do, what you don't have to do, you don't have just to say who they are and what they have done, as I said earlier, but why this is important for her and what are the consequences. So when you're reading your novel or rereading your novel now, think of that. Oh, how do they act on that character? How does that person, what's the importance of that person? Is that person a second character? Is it a main character? And think everything you could say about them in French. Now, organizing a structured essay of 400 words, what do you need to do? What does that mean, a structured essay? A structured essay is simple. It's an introduction followed by a main body, 3-4 points with examples from the text that you analyze by telling the readers what they mean or they convey, and a conclusion. So no more, just those 3 things, and try to organize them in your on your paper clearly for the reader to see it. So the introduction first. Introduction, so you've got 400 words to write in total. So it's 100 more than last year. It's not a lot. It's not a lot when you've got things to say. So introduction is only about I would say, 50, 60 words. It's is quite small if you look at 50 words on a piece of paper. It's that in that introduction, you have to mention clearly what novel you are talking about. You have to think that us teacher, we don't know anything about it, okay? So you have to mention your novel dans le roman, and you mention your novel, like par exemple dans le roman Un secret, dans le roman de Kif Kif Demain, and then you mention the author. So check the spelling of the name of the authors too, because it's a book you've seen, so you should be able to write the name of the authors. Then you have to put the question into context. Often you've got that in the question itself if it's a theme. If it's a character, perhaps you'll have to say a bit more about it. Like if I take Un secret, Louise, une amie de la famille. Okay, something simple, you don't develop on it there, but just put it in context. Who is that woman? Une amie de la famille. Now, and thirdly, what you have to do, you have to say what you are going to write about. So you have to give your plan. No details, just a quick plan. So what I've done, I took the essay from Analyser comment les rapports entre le narrateur et ses parents changent au cours du roman. It's from Un secret de Philippe Grimbert. Sorry, I should have written that somewhere. And I wrote an introduction. So it's my introduction. It's not the Bible in a way. Eh? It's just a teacher introduction. So first, I mentioned clearly my novel. So, dans le roman de Philippe Grimbert, Un secret. And that's simple. You could say, dans le roman Un secret de Philippe Grimbert, present it as you want, as long as you say everything. Then, I put the question, les rapports entre le narrateur et ses parents évoluent entre le début et la fin du roman. I could have said, I could have kept change. It's not a problem. And I put the timing, début et la fin du roman, so it's in the whole novel. And more or less, I copy what was written in the question, okay? And thirdly, my plan. So what I wrote, sorry, je vais analyser leur relation quand il est enfant, puis juste après la découverte du secret, et enfin à la fin du livre quand son père est âgé. So that's a simple thing. It doesn't take too long to write. And if you got different questions on your novels, try to write a plan on them. If you got past paper, if you've done already some essays, and they're not far from you, keep them next to you now and think of your introduction, or if you've got something to write for next week, perhaps think about it while we are doing that. Okay, she said that. How is my question divided? How can I write that introduction? In my own introduction, what I would like you to say now in the Q&A is how many points will I present in my essay? How many points? If you look at that sentence, the last sentence, I give you, this time I give you like 20 seconds to write about that. So thank you. I suppose some of you have written, it's 3. The answer was 3, okay? 3. So it's easy to see, quand il est enfant, puis I use a lot of connective and time adverbs, quand il est enfant, puis juste après la découverte du secret, that's my second point, et enfin, another connective to introduce my third point, à la fin du livre. So now I've written those 3 points. What I'll do, I write my essay now. I should write a plan first and then the essay. And I should focus on those 3 points. And even if I got another idea that I think is amazing, I forget about it. And it's what you should do. You write on those 3 points you've given in your introduction, or 4 points, depend what you decide to write about. So next, the main body. Main body about 280, 300 words, depend on the size of your introduction, your conclusion. Again, I repeat, 3-4 points. If you got only 2 points is fine. Start with the least important one and finish with the most important. If you can. Some question you won't be able to do that, but if you can, think, oh, what's the least important of my points? If it's not chronological, you can think that way. Okay. Now, especially on a character, about their role, start with the least important role and finish with the most important according to you. And each point is a paragraph. So for each point, you explain your point, you give example or you give quote from the book. If you had a real exam, you could not write quote because you cannot learn by heart a French book. But because if you write your essays at home this time, you could have a look in your books and look for nice quote you could introduce, and then you explain the things and you comment on them, and that's the analyze. Okay, so then don't repeat the same words. It's about the structure of your essay. If you can come up with an alternative, use it. Like, well, we all know, you can say car and parce que. Okay, so alternate. Also use a wide range of structure, and try to use those, like, write in the present most of your essay, but you could use a subjunctive mode. So for example, when contradicting something, you could use bien que plus subjunctive or quoique plus subjunctive. I'm sure you've done that in grammar with your teachers. So think to reuse, how can I use this amazing structure my teacher gave me? Think about it for your essay, and try it if you got an essay to write for next week. For example, you could say, bien que les personnages aient un impact sur Doria, celle-ci, blabla, carry on that way, okay? Then use a wide range of vocabulary and phrases. So adjective about the characters, by now you should know all your characters, and in the book you got a lot of adjectives about them that you can reuse. Especially I'm thinking about un secret, about the narrator, like chétif, malingre. There is a lot of thing about it, that character. So you could note and have piece of paper like revision cards about them with a lot of vocab around. Use specific book vocabulary when you're writing, like le roman, l'auteur, l'épilogue, le personnage. You know all those words, use them in your essay. And use also analytical phrases like on peut remarquer que, on peut établir une analogie entre, so we can know that, we can establish an analogy between, like for example, again, un secret, because that's the book I'm doing this year, sorry, it's fresh in my head. On peut établir une analogie entre le nom du chien en peluche et le nom du frère du narrateur. So le chien en peluche, Sim, et le narrateur, Simon. So you could use a structure for that. Dans Kiff Kiff demain, you could say, on peut remarquer que Doria est plus épanouie, joyeuse à la fin du roman qu'au début, and then you explain why. So, and then use verbs to analyze. Those verbs introduce the analysis, like montrer, to show, représenter, represent, symboliser, critiquer, etc., etc. All those verbs which will force you to think and to write an analysis. Also, our French people, we love on. We use on all the time. Okay, it looks really formal if I translate it into English, into one, but not in French. It's not that formal, but it's good. The on form of the verbs is good in an essay. On voit que, on peut dire que, and it's helping you to structure. So, on voit que le narrateur se sent mieux après que le secret ait été révélé, et dans un secret. Again, on peut dire que Doria apprécie la fête de Livry-Gargan. That's for Kiff Kiff. So you use it, any books, it works. It works for Le Bal, it works for all of them. Then another thing that's more the structure in itself, like on a piece of paper, Indenture Paragraphs to make it clear. So I gave three points in my introduction. I should indent 3 times in my main body, and I should leave space between my introduction and my main body, and again main body and conclusion, to make it really clear on the paper for the person who will mark you, and easier to find your ideas, even easier for you when you read again at the end. Now, also, and that you know since at least year 9, use connectives, puis, enfin, ainsi que, and you use also time adverbs like quand, ensuite, après, all the things you know, you've done for years and you've done during lessons, but now apply them in your essay as you will do in your oral. So use them as much as you can, in a way, show off your grammatical knowledge in your essay. So third part of my essay is a conclusion. So conclusion, it's quite easy. It's about 50, 60 words. Okay, so in that conclusion, you'll have to sum up what you have discussed in your main points. So don't repeat anything. That is what I wrote. Do not write any new ideas. Just sum up your essay. So if I was taking my first example, more or less about Un Secret and the relation between the narrator and his parents, what I would do here would be to more or less repeat, extend a bit what I wrote in the introduction. Donc, en conclusion, and show, start your conclusion with something obvious, okay? Like use a phrase to show that it's a conclusion. En conclusion, pour conclure, je dirais que les relations entre le narrateur et ses parents ont changé pour le mieux entre le début du roman quand il était enfant et que il était sous la domination de ses parents. Après la révélation du secret, quand il est plus épanoui, mais que ses parents, malgré que ses parents ne soient pas au courant, et enfin à la fin du roman, quand il révèle le secret à son père, ok, and il est celui qui les soutient. Just something simple, 60 words about which more or less match the introduction. So check back to your introduction when you're doing that. I leave you 2 minutes. I don't know if you've got essay next to you. Sorry, it would have been nice to know. If you've done a novel, if you don't, use the question I wrote perhaps. Try to write not a conclusion, more perhaps an introduction for 1 minute or 2, or a conclusion as you want. Main body is impossible, but take a question. If you got it, I leave you only 1 minute for doing that, as I don't know who's got something under next to him or her. And try to write an introduction. You can write it in the Q&A. Try to write an introduction quickly with your idea, or write something you already done. Just check on your book if you answer what I ask you to do. Just 1 minute, 50 seconds perhaps I'll give you, if you want to. Thank you. Okay, I hope you have a better idea of what you are supposed to do. Pour finir, to finish about the presentation, I wrote some ideas that came up to my mind about the essay, which couldn't fit anywhere else. So first of all, remember to fully answer the question asked. Okay. Don't ask half of the question, like if it's a relation or the impact of someone on someone else. Think of everything you could use to answer that question, okay? Then write a clear plan before you start. It's the best time for doing it this year because you'll have to write most of your essay at home. You've got time to write a plan. Think about it, write your introduction, and then according to your introduction with a question next to you, write a plan with 2, 3 points, 4 points, 5 if you think you need 5 points, but you have to remember you've got only 400 words, and that's not a lot, in fact. And in that plan, so write your point, write 1 or 2 examples from the book, and 2 bullet points about what you could do to explain those examples, to explain those points you written. Okay, clear plan, and then you follow your plan. If it's at home, it's easy to follow a plan, and you answer it and you improve what you've written already. Then check the spelling of the names of the characters and the places. You've got, in some novels, you've got a lot of names to learn, and perhaps names you're not familiar with, or you need to learn the spelling. Like I'm thinking Un Secret Grimbert, you have to spell it in 2 ways if you compare how the name was spelled before the father changed it into the other name. Okay, and because you're used to your teacher using that word, Grimbert, you don't hear the last letter. So you have to remember that it's a T now, and it was a G before the war. Okay. Doria, it's the same. You have to remember how to spell Nabil or the name of a mum. You have to remember all those names and spell them correctly for the essay, because you've been reading that novel. So people who are marking you are expecting you to know how to write the names of the people and the name of the places too. Like Lyon is not too difficult to write, and it's a town you know. But if I'm thinking of another novel, like Un Secret again, Saint-Gauthier is not that easy to write. So check your spelling. Perhaps practice writing. Ask your friends. If you got friends, you could do a quiz on how to write a place and turn the card. Ask each other how to do it when you go back to school or via your phones, in fact. Also, make sure you don't wander from the question. So I would keep my question really next to me and go back to it while I'm writing my plan, when I'm writing my essay, because it's easy to wander about. Okay. Even we do it. So you got that question, and each time you've written something, you're thinking, okay, am I answering the question, or am I doing something else? Am I adding to that question something that I should not be adding? Like I was thinking of the one in Un Secret about what's the impact of Tanya on the life of Maxime and Hannah. It's easy to reverse and to, at a point, start writing about the impact of Hannah in Tanya and Maxime wedding. Okay, but don't do that and check. Oh yes, it's the first one, the impact of the first one on the 2 others. So remember that for any book you're reading. Okay, I'm taking example from books I've done, like Yves Demain and Un Secret, but it works with Le Bal and Les Amants du Pont d'Avignon. It works too, because you've got characters and they all interact with one another. So you know you could have the impact of someone on someone else in any book anyway. But make sure you answer the question and you don't answer too much, in fact. Then once you have finished your essay, read it again and check that everything is clear and makes sense. Like, for example, if you use the subjunctive, if you use this expression quoique, bien que, check, you know, bien que, quoique, are followed by a subjunctive, but sometimes we just forget and we write an indicative present tense, a normal present tense. Sorry for my jargon. Check that. Check. Oh, have I used my subjunctive? Yes, I have. Have I agree every adjective? Yes, I have. Have I put the adjective in the right place in French? Yes, I have. Or if you don't have, correct, and you just barré in French, and you write the right way. Okay. Just to make clear, and yeah, I'm pretty sure you can find out few mistakes yourself, spot the mistakes yourself in your own essays. Okay, so I finished the presentation now. What we could do because it's a bit, we still have some times. You could, if you have some questions, you could ask them in the Q&A, and Madame Griffiths could ask them to me orally, or she could answer it too, if she wants to, if it's all right with you. So 5 minutes perhaps for you to write some question, if it's all right with Madame Griffiths.
Yes, of course. So we have one question, Madam Lloyd. I'll just read the question out to you. I think it's something you've already covered, but it doesn't matter. I'm just scrolling down. How many pages or words should the whole essay be, and how long do you have to write the answer?
So it's 400 words. 400 words is like a front page. It's no more than a front page. Okay, so it's not really long. It's 50, 60 words for the introduction, as I said. So if you say 50 words, it's easy because you can divide the main point. If you got 3 main points, it's about 100 words per point. Okay, and then 50 words again for the conclusion. Okay, I hope that answers the question.
And then the other part of the question, how long do you have to write the paper? It's an hour and a half, isn't it, the paper?
Yeah, it's an hour and a half, yes, it is. Yeah, sorry, I forgot about the second half.
That's okay. If any other questions? If you have any other questions, please put them in the Q&A and we'll answer them for you. I'll just wait 30 seconds to see if we have some more questions coming through, Madam Lloyd.
Yeah, we can wait.
We have another question coming through, Madam Lloyd. How many times do you think we should practice answering essays?
As often as you can, I would say. Yes, you could ask your teachers for questions, and then you can divide your time and give back essay when you can. I don't know. I personally gave out 6 questions, and when my students have time, they answer one. I mark it. We do. You can do one every 3 weeks, every 4 weeks now. Yeah, I don't know, Madam, if this is what you do, or.
I give out a set of questions when we start the essays. They could also write plans for some of the essays and just submit plans.
Yeah, just submit plans, and then later on you can write an essay about it. Yeah, plan, introduction, conclusion, and yeah, that's, yeah, how many essays? I don't know, perhaps 6, 7.
Yeah, about half a dozen.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah. Are there any more questions? Any further questions this evening? We'll wait another 30 seconds, Madam Lloyd,
Yeah, no problem.
Further questions.
That's good, yeah.
There's another question coming through now. There's another 2. I have another 2 questions.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, so no, it's just we have some nice comments. This has been very helpful, thank you, and all the notes have been written down.
Oh, merci, merci de nous avoir écoutés. Hein?
Yeah, and there's another question. Is there a recording? Yes, there will be a recording.
Yes.
Okay, merci, Madam Lloyd.
Merci.
De rien. Next week's session will be session 3, and we will be looking at how to answer the long question on the reading comprehension paper. Au revoir.
Au revoir.